So hello my dear students, today we are going to see an interesting theorem. It is called as existence and uniqueness of GCD theorem. So the meaning is whenever we are having two non-zero integers a and b, then the guarantee is that two non-zero integers will have a GCD. Further, the GCD can be written in the form of ma plus nb for some m comma n belonging to z. So remember the integers are a and b. So whenever we take two non-zero integers, it is going to have a GCD, and that GCD can be expressed in the form of ma plus nb for some choices of m and n. So for some integers m and n, and further the GCD is unique. GCD is unique means what? If I give one example to all of you and I ask you to find the GCD of two numbers, then all of you are going to get the same answer. This is called as the uniqueness. Okay, so what is the meaning? Just I will explain. So I have already told you that before this. I think we have seen GCD of 2 and 3 is 1. Okay, so the meaning is, since GCD of 2 and 3 is 1, so you can write this 1 in the form of, see, actually your value of a is 2 and value of b is 3. So how can you write this 1? This 1 can be written as ma plus nb for some choices of m and n. In other words, what is my value of a? It is 2, right? So it 1 can be written as 2m plus value of b is 3, so it can be written as 2m plus 3n for some choices of m and n. So can you guess some values of m and n so that I will get 1 is equal to 2m plus 3n? So naturally, if I take n is equal to 1 and m is equal to minus 1, you can see that the right hand side will be 1, isn't it? This equation will be satisfied for these values of m and n. That is nothing but the meaning. Further, whatever GCD you are getting, in this case I am getting 1 as the GCD of 2 and 3, so it is unique. So GCD of 2 and 3 is always going to be 1, it cannot be other than 1. Now one thing I would like to clear that this m and n need not be unique, means some students may get different values of m and n. For example, GCD of 2 and 3 is 1. Just now I have told you this 1 can be written in the form of 2m plus 3n for some choices of m and n. So one choice was, I picked n is equal to 1 and m is equal to minus 1. So some student may pick some other values also. For example, if I have to give, one may choose m is equal to 2 and n is equal to minus 1. Still it will hold, right? Because if you put m is equal to 2, then you will get 4, and n is equal to minus 1, then you will get 4 minus 3, which is again 1. So it may happen that you may get different values of m and n. Okay, just keep it in mind, you should know it. So this value of m and n are not unique. Okay, now the one more thing I would like to clear is, now over here in the theorem it is said that any two non-zero integers have a GCD. Now it is not like that we need only two non-zero integers to find a GCD. We need at least one integer to be non-zero. So whenever you are having at least one integer to be non-zero, then also GCD always exists. Just keep it in mind. In fact, we have the property, if b is non-zero, then what will be the GCD of 0 and b? It is going to be b only, and remember it is unique. It is always going to be b only, right? So just keep in mind, even if the theorem is saying that any two non-zero integers always have a GCD, but remember, even if one integer is 0, still the two integers is going to have a GCD always, and in fact it will be unique only. Okay, so let us go for the proof. So over here I am going to consider one set, so I will say consider, and I am going to take the help of Weil ordering principle. So I suggest you that you go back and see the concept of Weil ordering principle and then come here again. So I will consider the set xa plus yb such that xy belongs to z, and this xa plus yb is greater than 0. So how to remember this set? You just simply see this, ma plus nb, simply replace m by x and n by y, then you can see that this is how I have constructed this set. Now first of all I have to show that this is a non-empty set. So in order to show that it is a non-empty set, I am supposed to remember that this x and y are variables in this set, okay, and the fixed values are a and b. So therefore I am supposed to find x and y such that this xa plus yb will be greater than 0. So I have to find some x and y such that this xa plus yb will be greater than 0, and that will imply that this set is non-empty. So see what is the idea. As a is non-zero and b is also non-zero, therefore what can you say about a square and b square? Both are going to be greater than 0, am I right? Therefore what can you say about a square plus b square? It is also going to be greater than 0, right? So have we found out an element of the type xa plus yb which is greater than 0? Answer is yes. Which is that element? A square plus b square, right? So what I will say, therefore a square plus b square is of the form, I will say this a square plus b square is of the form xa plus yb. You will say how? And further this xa, further this a square plus b square is greater than 0 also. How it is of the form xa plus yb? See, how can you write a square plus b square? It can be written as a multiplied by a plus b multiplied by b. So what are our choices of x and y? So my choice of x is a and choice of y is b. So I have found out x and y such that this xa plus yb is greater than 0, and therefore this a square plus b square belongs to S. So this belongs to S, therefore I will say S is a non-empty subset of natural numbers. So since S is a non-empty subset of natural numbers, so what can you say about Weyl ordering principle? So therefore we can say, therefore by Weyl ordering principle, S has a list element, say D, okay. So I am calling that list element as D. So what is the meaning of this? So ह्या सेट मध्ये लिस्ट एलिमेंट डी आहे, याचा अर्थ डी पेक्षा लहान कोणता एलिमेंट ह्या सेट मध्ये नसणार, इथं पहिली गोष्ट आहे. आणि दुसरी गोष्ट म्हणजे काय, डी हा कुठला एलिमेंट आहे, एस चाच एलिमेंट आहे. therefore I can say D belongs to S and D will be less equal, this small s I will say, for all S belonging to capital S. So it means that D is the least element of the set S. Now since D belongs to S, how can you write D? D can be written in this form, that is xa plus yb for some x and y belonging to Z. So that for some x and y, whatever I am saying, I will call that x and y as m and n respectively, because that is what I want in the statement of the theorem. So therefore this D can be written as ma plus nb for some m comma n belonging to Z. Now what I am going to show that, see what we want to prove, we want to prove that any two non-zero integers have a GCD and that GCD can be expressed in this form. Now till now what I have is, I have one number which can be written in this form, that is ma plus nb. So what I am going to show now, whatever this number is there, this number is nothing but the GCD of a and b. So if I show that this D is the GCD of a and b, then I am through. Then what I can say, this a and b has a GCD which is nothing but D, and we are already having what, that D is of this form, that is m and n for some m comma n belonging to Z. So I will say now we show D is GCD of a and b. So that is nothing but what, in order to show it is a GCD, we are supposed to show two things. First thing is D divides a and D divides b, and the second thing is, if there exists C belonging to Z such that C divides A and C divides B, then what we have to prove, then this C should divide D, okay. So these two things we have to prove. So first of all we will prove that D divides A and D divides B, and then we will go for the second part. So I will say first to show D divides A and D divides B. Now see here how we are going to prove it. So here I will say A comma B belongs to Z, not B, D. A comma D belongs to Z and D is greater than 0. So are you getting what I am pointing towards? I am pointing towards division algorithm. So we have already discussed division algorithm. When can we apply it? If we are having two integers and one of them is positive, then immediately we can apply division algorithm, and the number that is positive we are going to divide by that integer, right? So over here B is positive, so by division algorithm we are having A is equal to BQ plus R, where R is greater or equal 0 and strictly less than what? B. So now over here I am going to divide by D and not by B, because my D is positive. As I have told you, we are going to consider positive GCD only. Okay, so I am going to divide by D and my other integer is A. So I am going to apply division algorithm for A and D. So I will say by division algorithm, what will happen? There will exist unique integers Q and R such that this A can be written as dq plus R, where this R is greater equal 0 and strictly less than D, since we are dividing by D. Now note one thing, we have to prove D divides A. So how to prove D divides A? Do you remember the definition of divisibility? A divides B if and only if B is equal to AK for some K belonging to Z. So in order to prove D divides A, what we have to prove? We have to prove A is equal to dk for some K belonging to Z. Now we are already having A is equal to dq for some integer q, right? So if I prove R is equal to 0, then I am through, because then I will have A is equal to dq and I can say D divides A. But the question is how to prove R is equal to 0, and that we are going to prove with the help of contradiction. So I will say, on contrary, assume that, I will give it some number, I will call it as 1. So I will say on contrary, assume that this R is non-zero from 1. Since R is non-zero, what we are having from 1? Now see, I am assuming R is non-zero. So since over here R is strictly greater equal 0, so इक्वेलिटी साइन तर गेली ना, कारण की मी काय अश्युम करतोय R नॉन झिरो आहे, म्हणजे राहिलं काय फक्त R is greater than 0. त्यामुळं from 1 what I am having, from 1 I can say R is greater than 0 less than D. If you want I will write here R is greater than 0 less than D, and what is my value of R? My value of R will be equal to A minus dq, which is further equal to, now I already know the value of D. What is my value of D? It is MA plus NB. So therefore this is equal to A minus, put the value of D as MA plus NB, outside it is Q, which can be further simplified as A minus MA Q, right? MA Q minus NB Q, which is further equal to, now this A can be taken out. So how can I write it? 1 minus MQ A plus minus NQ B. So it is of which form? This is equal to XA plus YB, where what is my X? Where X is 1 minus MQ, which belongs to Z, and what is my Y? My Y is minus NQ, which also belongs to Z. Why both belongs to Z? Because M and Q are already integers, and over here also N is already an integer. So therefore this X and Y is belonging to Z. So what we have shown, see, R is of which form? XA plus YB. So do you remember from where we are having this XA plus YB? It comes from this set. So we have shown that this R is of this form, XA plus YB, and further that R is greater than 0 also. Over here I have said. So what does it mean? This R belongs to what? S. Therefore R belongs to S. Therefore, what we have? Therefore, R belongs to S such that and R is less than D also. From where I am having this R is less than D? See, from here, isn't it? You can say from here or from 1. We are having R is less than D. So, but what we have said previously, D is the least element of the set S. It means S does not contain an element that is smaller than D, isn't it? Because D is the least. But what has happened here? We have got a element R which is less than D and is a member of S, which is a contradiction to the fact that D is a least element. So, which contradicts to the fact that D is the least element of the set S. So, therefore, our assumption is wrong. Therefore, what should be right? Therefore, what should be right? R should be equal to 0. So, I will say put R is equal to 0 in 1. Therefore, what you are going to get? A will be equal to B cube and therefore D divides A, right? And similarly, what we can prove? D divides B. So, I will say similarly D divides B. So, first part is done. Now, we have to prove the second part. So, second part in the sense, I will say let C belongs to Z such that C divides A and C divides B. And what we have to prove? We have to prove C divides D. So, proof is simple actually. Since C is dividing A and C is dividing B, what we can say? Can you think of the property? Yes, think for a while. We have already seen that property. Since C divides A and C divides B, therefore I can say C divides MA plus NB. This is a famous property that we have proved. Therefore, C will divide D since the value of D is MA plus NB, right? So, that is what we wanted to prove, and this we are getting by property. Okay, you can go back and see. Okay, we have already seen this property, right? So, that's about what? That's about any two non-zero integers have a GCD and it can be expressed as MA plus NB. Now, we have to show that GCD is unique. So, uniqueness part is left. So, I will write here now uniqueness. Now, we have to prove that the GCD is unique. So, we are already having that D is the GCD of A and B. So, idea is I will say let D1 be a GCD of A and B, and I will prove that D is equal to what? D1, and that will prove the uniqueness. So, I will say let D1 be GCD of A and B. Therefore, we are having two things. Okay, therefore, first D1 is dividing A and D1 is dividing B, and the second thing is if C belongs to Z such that C divides A and C divides B, then what is happening? This C is dividing D1 because D1 is a GCD, right? Also, we have D is a GCD of A and B. So, according to the definition, you just go back and see the definition of GCD, then you will understand how I have written it. Also, we have D is a GCD of A and B. So, therefore, I will say 3. We are having D divides A and D divides B. In fact, we have proved it in this theorem. And the fourth one is if C belongs to Z such that C divides A and C divides B, then what is happening? This C is dividing D. Okay. Now just focus on 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay. So what is one saying? D1 is dividing A and D1 is dividing B. What is this second one saying? If C belongs to Z such that C divides A and C divides B, then what should happen? This C should divide D1. Now observe carefully this third one. Now in third one, what we are having? D divides A and D divides B, isn't it? So what you can say? Now just try to understand this second condition. Don't keep this C in mind. Okay. So if you are having any number from Z satisfying this property, I mean if you are having a number from Z such that C divides A and C divides B, immediately what we can say, that C divides D1. So now what we are having here, we are having D divides A and D divides B. So immediately what we can say, D divides D1. Is that okay? Are you getting it? Since D1 is the GCD. So I will say from 1 we have, from 3 rather, we have D divides A and D divides B. But D1 is GCD. So what should happen? It should be greatest, right? So this is implying actually that D is a common divisor of A and B. But D1 the GCD है and D is a common divisor. Since D1 is the GCD, this D should divide what? D1. Therefore, D divides D1. I will call it as sum 2. Okay. By using same logic, from 1, what you are having? From 1, we have D1 divides A and D1 divides B. But D is the GCD of A and B. Therefore, what you can say? Now, what does it imply? This implies that D1 is a common divisor of A and B. But we already know that D is a GCD. So, what should happen? D1 should divide D. This is from 3. Now, since D divides D1 and D1 divides D, so therefore, what can you say about D and D1? They should be equal. Okay. Therefore, D should be equal to D1. Hence the uniqueness. Now, you will say, how does it imply D is equal to D1? See, the reason is, we already proved the theorem. If A divides B, then we have proved that mod A is less equal mod B. You might remember it. Okay. So right now what we have proved in this result, we have proved D divides D1. So what we can say, mod of D will be less equal mod of D1. We have also proved D1 divides D. Therefore what we can say, mod of D1 will be less equal mod of D. Now since mod of D is less equal mod of D1 and mod of D1 is less equal mod of D, when it is possible? It is possible only if mod of D1 is equal to mod of D. But you know, we take only positive GCDs into account. So D1 and D are already positive. So what will be mod of D1? It will be D1. And what will be mod of D? It will be D. And therefore D is equal to D1. So note, whenever we are having A and B to be greater than 0, and if you prove A divides B and B divides A, then what we can say immediately? We can say A is equal to B. Now you can prove it other way around also. How can you prove it other way around? Instead of using this result, now since A is dividing B, what I can say, B will be equal to A K1 for some K1 belonging to Z. Since B divides A, I can say A is equal to B K2 for some K2 belonging to Z. Now just put the value of B in this equation. So what we'll get, A is equal to B is A K1 and this is K2. Okay. So A and A will get cancelled out and K1 and K2 will be equal to 1. Now since K1, product of K1 K2 is equal to 1 and K1 and K2 are integers. So when it is possible? It is possible if both K1 and K2 are 1 or both K1 and K2 are minus 1. So if I take both K1 and K2 to be equal to minus 1, then what will happen? So this will imply that if K1 is minus 1, this will imply B is equal to minus A. But since A and B both are positive, now B is already positive. Okay. A is also positive, isn't it? But we are saying B is equal to minus A. This is completely wrong, because since A is positive, minus A will be negative, right? So what we are saying, a negative number is equal to a positive number. Is that okay? Which is not possible. So this case is not possible. So therefore K1 and K2 should be equal to 1. So if you put K1 is equal to 1 or K2 is equal to 1, what we will get? A is equal to B. Okay. So this is the also way to prove it. So this is an important result. If A and B are greater than 0 and A is dividing B and B is dividing A, then you can say that A is equal to what? B. So if you want, just I will write a note over here. So we'll stop here. Thank you.